Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving week. I hope that your holidays are going to be focused on God and filling you with thanksgiving. In light of that, I want, before we leave Jesus' fifth portrait of how the kingdom of God works that we saw in Luke 15 now, the story of the prodigal, I want to do a full-on look at the prayer that we learned way back in April the 24th to pray for other people in Ephesians. It was Paul's prayer for the Ephesians in chapter 1, began in chapter 1, interrupted himself, and then continued in chapter 3. I want us to pretend that the father in the story of the prodigal son was praying that prayer for his son. In other words, I want us to see how that prayer would, in a sense, is answered in somebody's life practically, so that that prayer becomes more of a practical prayer in our lives. I think it'll help you as it has helped me. So what I have to do is set side by side that prayer with this parable of the prodigal son in Luke 15. And so let's just begin by pretending that father, as the son's gone way far off, has begun to pray this prayer. I'm going to he's just going to copy Paul's prayer by saying the same words. So here's the father praying. I keep asking that the glorious Father may give you the spirit of wisdom. Well, in Luke 15:17, it says, when he finally came to his senses. Remember we said that he came to his spiritual senses. So God the Father answered the prayer of that father when he was praying for his son to be given a spirit of wisdom. He came to his senses. But Paul also then goes on in Ephesians 1:70 to say he prayed for a spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of him. So now listen to, after the son comes to his senses, what he says. He said to himself, at home, even the hired hands have food enough to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against both you and heaven, and I'm no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as one of your hired servants. And so he returned home to his father. So now, not only did he come to his senses, but he's come to the revelation of where his real home is, who his father is, or a little more about who his father is, and he's starting to return home. He wants to see his father face to face. That's the spirit that you're praying for yourself and for other people as you pray that prayer. And so then what happened to the son? So once he comes back, he sees his father, and he begins that same spiel, that he prepared for his father. Father, I've sinned. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But before he gets there, well, while he's a long way off, it says in verse 20, a long distance away, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son. This is probably the most important aspect of Paul's prayer in Ephesians that's answered and shown in the life of the prodigal. Because Paul had prayed, I pray that having the eyes of your heart enlightened, that you might know what is the hope to which he has called you. What is the hope to which he has called you? The riches of glory in his inheritance in you. Well, I think it can be summed up in these two words that the father returns to his son with. He's filled with love and compassion. When you are before God the Father, even right now, as you are before the God the Father, he is filled with love and compassion for you. It had a great effect on this son, even though he tried to go through his spiel. the Father said, no, quick, get him. It showed the incomparable power of God towards them as well, in that the Father was able to quickly marshal a robe for the finest robe for him to wear, sandals for his feet, and even an authoritative ring for his finger. And that's what God is able to do for you. And so listen how Paul then concluded his prayer for the Ephesians. He remember, he interrupted himself, then he went back, and then he began this prayer, because I think it's the same prayer that this father would then say for his son. For this reason I bow my knees before the Father, that according to his riches in glory, he may grant you to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your heart through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in this love, may have strength to comprehend with all the other saints what is the height of his love, what is the depth of his love, what is the length of his love, what is the breadth of his love, in a new way, and be filled up with all the fullness of God. I pray that glory will rest on you today.